Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News. We have an updating breaking story. Kat Izzo releases a statement. She says, I apologize. This, of course, being the swoop in that she did before Charity's one-on-one date. We're going to get into the story right now. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals, patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind-the-scenes bonus content. And every afternoon, Bachelor Rush Hour, the podcast for your commute home. Go Bachelor Rush Hour, link in the comment section to listen to that, both on your phones or your desktop, your TV, wherever you want. All right. So let's get into the story. The Bachelor, Kat calls Brooklyn aggressive and says she feels attacked by her as they fight. Brooklyn called Kat out on the episode last night of The Bachelor, and it led to a new feud between the two women. And of course, you're thinking, oh, Brooklyn called Kat out before Brooklyn's one-on-one? No. Brooklyn wasn't even on the date, okay? She was just sticking up for a Charity, as everyone thought that Kat was in the wrong. Well, we all wondered, how come Kat didn't apologize? All she should have done was admit fault and this and that. And sure enough, the show only showed her kind of giving her side of the story and not apologizing. And I said, what would have worked out well would be just a quick apology by Kat. My bad, rather than ask permission, just, swoop in, kiss them, do your thing, and then apologize later. Well, here's what she had to say. She said, what wasn't shown last night were my apologies and accountability the moment I could. Unless you have been immersed in this experience, you cannot understand what comes with trying to manage the delicate balance between your friendships and your relationship. Hashtag The Bachelor. So she didn't necessarily apologize in this statement today, but she at least acknowledged that she did apologize, and no one on the show is questioning that. But of course, people said every other girl was in your exact same position, but you were the only one to interrupt Zach picking up his date. Not a good look. So anyway, we also have a response from Kat to some other sort of implications. Here's what it went down, right? So this is a very, very interesting and good to clarify because we didn't get any sort of context, but so Brooklyn went up to Kat as Kat was trying to talk to Charity and said, would you have done the same thing to Jess? Now, the first thing I thought is Brooklyn saying that because Jess is white and Kat felt like she could interrupt a woman of color. Now, I didn't want to make that implication. That's just what I personally thought when I saw that. I go, oh man, is this becoming like a race thing? Like, are they having conversations that we aren't privy to on the show with like the fairness and of equity as far as who gets them at the time with Zach? But of course, she nips that in the bud right away. And let me find her response. Let me go back here. Her response was, it only implies that Jess was my closest friend in the house and knew I was upset that she left the night before. Sad to see it took time away from two adult women trying to have a mature conversation. So, I mean, I don't know. For mature conversations, I don't generally go to The Bachelor or The Bachelorette where a bunch of 20-year-old good-looking people compete for quote-unquote love and then they break up 2 months later. But mature, I guess mature in a sense here. So that's what Kat had to say. Now, if you guys didn't check out, I just made a video that Nick was defending Kat, which led a lot of people to get upset about that.
How many people are left? There were nine to start the episode. At this stage of the game, if you are not like thinking about how do I make more of a connection with Zach, if you're not starting to be fantasizing about the future, if you're not missing him like crazy where you're starting to lose your mind and you're thinking about people taking turns and you're thinking about fairness and other people getting their time, you're just not there for Zach.
Now, I disagree that one has to equal the other, but I do understand what he's saying is you can't fault Kat for making a move. They hadn't seen Zach for a week. She just wanted to give him 1 minute, one old smooch, miss ya, whatever. But of course, if everyone did that, that would be a problem. So, who gets to do that? What, did Kat have it approved by production? These types of things, we don't know. Well, let's listen to what She's All Batch had to say. Our good friends, Jackie and Stephanie from She's All Batch.
I think it, honestly, to make it a little bit worse though too, the fact that it's Charity's redemption date. Like it's the date she didn't get to have last week. And you're saying, why can't I have my moment? Because Charity didn't get to have her moment and now she's getting it. So don't go out in the hallway and make out with him, please. Respectfully.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you.
Decline.
And Ariel, I love, pulls Kat aside and Kat's like, don't you realize that's not what I normally would have done? Like, what is this, like fictional world? Like, you did do it though. And Ariel flat out says, she's like, yeah, but you did do it.
Right. What does that even mean? That's not what I normally would have done. Like
she blamed
in what
COVID.
Circumstance?
Like, she said, like, the COVID situation kind of turned everything on its head. So, like, normally she wouldn't do that, but because she didn't get to see Zach for a week and blah, 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 she did it. And Ariel's like, okay, but you did it. So that's not a defense.
Yeah, that doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, so the idea, and again, great work here by the ladies, that she's all batch, but they're kind of, the point is this: we can always make excuses for why we behave a certain way, but it doesn't make it quote unquote right. But being right, as Nick says, being right by not violating this girl code that they talk about, that doesn't get you the end goal either. So there is a delicate balance between walking that line of friendships, but also going after your guy. And that's explained by Kat in her Instagram stories. She said, this was actually me the whole episode, and that's her kind of with her hand covering her face. And then she shared some of her friends cheering her on. If this wasn't foreshadowing for how the week was going to go, and of course that was a bunch of women crammed, next to a statue. Oh boy, I bet there is nothing worse than getting stuck next to the Bachelor contestants when you're on a vacation. So yeah, she shared her mood. She was nervous about this episode, and she probably got the appropriate level of backlash she thought she would receive. But again, is this unprecedented? Leave a comment. Let me know. Has something like this happened before? If it were a rose ceremony, everyone steals everybody. And I think that's where Kat was unwilling to make any concessions, at least what we saw in the edit, was that she was like, everyone does this. We're all dating the guy. This isn't a big deal. But of course, someone like Nick, who, as I mentioned in the last video, Nick has been in the same circumstance where he spent an overnight date with Caitlin Bristow on her season of The Bachelorette before Fantasy Suite. So he was also willing to play against the quote-unquote rules. But of course, as we say, rules exist to be broken. Well, okay, so let's see if there's any more clips from what he had to say here. Like both can be true, you know?
Get the date.
How do you know that? You don't know that.
Good point.
Well, they used a time watch to.
Yeah, so she spent 5 minutes with Zach. You know what I mean? All right, so the producers from Nick's podcast are articulating the point that Kat wasted everyone's time, and Nick's saying, no, she didn't. This was like a quick thing, whatever. You know, who knows? Who knows? Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to know your thoughts on all of this. I've got so much content ready to go to you. I've already got Wednesday and Thursday's podcast uploaded because I'm going to be traveling to Indonesia. Wednesday, I've got an interview with Clayton Eckerd. And Thursday, I've got my interview with Chad from Game of Roses. These are fantastic convos. They will be available primarily on the podcast. That's where you can listen to the full conversation, Bachelor Rush Hour. Link in the comment section if you want to listen. I think I have one more piece of content for you today. We haven't even gotten to the Jess storyline. Pray for Jess. So we're going to get to the Jess storyline. That's coming up next. Make sure you're subscribed so you can get access to that content. We'll see you shortly.